On the 8th of April 2013, Baroness Margaret Thatcher, the longest-serving British Prime Minister of the 20th century and the first woman to ever hold the position, died after suffering a stroke. Her funeral will take place on Wednesday, the 17th of April, and she will be the first non-royal to have the honour of a state funeral since Winston Churchill in 1965. Some of my international audience may not be 100% aware of this, but Thatcher was an incredibly divisive figure. She was renowned as being a forceful leader, a strong character, and a shaper of the United Kingdom that we know today, dragging the country kicking and screaming out of the completely disastrous late 1970s when the UK was renowned as being the sick man of Europe. But her policies were seen as extreme and ruthless, bringing great prosperity to some and making lives much worse for many others. She decimated mining communities in the north, where yuppies in the city became super rich. It's actually a lot more complicated than that, but today I don't want to talk about Margaret Thatcher's policies. I want to talk about the British reaction to her death. Now, there have been several forms of protest organised around the death and funeral of Margaret Thatcher. One of those that has been more extensively reported on is the Facebook group Maggie's Good Riddance Party, which aims to line the streets along where she's going to be carried as she is taken to St Paul's Cathedral and turn their backs on her. This protest has been reported on in a few newspapers and media outlets as having several thousand people planning on taking part. But when you look at the Facebook group itself, there's only about 300 people who are confirmed as going, and you know how accurate confirmed attendance can be on Facebook. Not very much. So the chances of this Facebook group and this protest being significant in any way are probably quite slim. Another more prominent campaign that has been getting a significant amount of press attention has been the attempt to get this song to number 1. Sadly for them, it only got to number 2, and the BBC decided to only play 5 seconds of the clip on their Radio 1 chart show out of respect for the family, whilst also compromising with the protesters. Interestingly, a direct counterpoint to this protest, which was a song by the Not Sensibles called I Love Margaret Thatcher, which got it at number 35, was played in full. So what do you guys think of this specific decision? Was the BBC right to only play a clip of the Ding Dong the Witch is Dead song? Should they have in fact not played it at all? Let me know in the comments what you think. Most people that I've been in contact with have mentioned that we should respect the traditions of freedom of speech that we have in this country, that the song and the protest should be allowed to go ahead. However, that they are in very bad taste and that there's something quite undignified about dancing on a dead woman's grave. I asked you guys what you thought of this on Twitter, and most of you seem to agree with this stance. But Ali specifically asked me to try and explain the reasoning behind these protests that could be interpreted as quite disrespectful. And so in order for me to try and do that, here's a quote from one of the protesters who has been trying to get Ding Dong the Witch is Dead to number 1. At the end of the day, people were trying to get a voice. That song must have hit a nerve because people didn't have a voice. They have a voice now, number 1 in Scotland, number 1 in Wales. Not all, but most of the coverage and the commentary surrounding Thatcher's death has been incredibly respectful and reflective. But there is still a large number of people who are angry and bitter about the policies that her government introduced that in some cases destroyed their culture and their livelihoods. If the figure that represented the destruction of your way of life died, and all you saw in the mainstream media were tributes to their greatness, then would you two not also want the other side of the argument to be heard? This is what the Turn Your Back protests and the Ding Dong the Witch is Dead campaign are about. It's people acting out because they did not feel that their view was being represented. What do you think of these protests? Are they childish, or are they a necessary counterpoint to the mountain of praise that has been afforded Thatcher? Also, is there anybody, politician or otherwise, who you think would draw a similar reaction out of you? Let me know in the comments. I'll be floating down there for a little bit of a debate. Make sure your voice is heard. Get involved. If you enjoyed this video and you like to have a little bit of a debate every now and again, make sure you subscribe because I put something new up about every week. Also, if you'd be able to like this video, that would be fantastic because it helps me out in terms of making sure people know what each other are watching. I've been rhyming with oranges. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.